Hi everyone, my name is Glenda with SureFit Designs, whimsically referred to as Glenda the Good Stitch. In this Make It Sew beginner series, the next technique that I'm going to show you how to sew is the release pleat, or just call it a pleat, because when a pleat is sewn, it is going to release the fabric. And so we're actually going to do it on this bodice, and you'll notice that I've got the markings up at the top of the shoulder line, and you might be wondering, where did that dart come from? Well, it came from this bust fitting dart that I then transferred up into the shoulder line. And where you're going to find directions for doing that is in the SureFit Designs Dress Kit instruction book on page 24 and 25. You'll see a number of different locations for a bust fitting dart, and you'll see the easy process of moving that dart to a new location. The directions actually end up showing you exactly how to move it into the shoulder line. And then once it's in the shoulder line, you can stitch it all the way down as a regular dart, or you can stitch it halfway or part way, and it forms what I call a release pleat or a pleat. And where you'll see this actually in action is in the blouse that I am wearing. This blouse has the dart transferred to the shoulder line, and I've stitched it part way down, and the rest of it just releases over my bust line. And in the two samples that are on the mannequin, you will also see that the same formation. In this green blouse, I've stitched it down only about an inch, and then I let the rest release over the bust line. And in the print blouse there, I have stitched it down about 2.5 inches and let the rest release. So the dart formation is there, but all I really have marked is just the top portion of it where my dotted lines are, and that's because that's what I need to stitch. So this is the right side of the fabric. I'm going to fold it. Well, let me show you the dart formation, or the pleat formation first of all. There are my two marked lines, and I did it in a white tracing carbon. And then I'm going to fold it with the right sides together, and I'm going to line up as best as I can those white lines, one right on top of the other. And it would really help if I had my little half eyes on to do this. Then I'm going to take a pin, and this time I'm going to pin it along the length of the stitching line there. And you can see I'm way off. So I need to refold this like this and pin again. And I'm getting a little bit closer, but I'd still like to get a little bit closer than what I was. That's pretty good. And there you can see my pin riding on that marked white line. And then I'm going to put one more in here and get that as close as possible. And then I'm going to take another pin and I'm going to mark where I'm going to stop stitching. So that's what the pinning technique would be like. Then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine, and again the bulk of my fabric is hanging away from the machine, and I'm going to set the needle down a couple of stitches inside the actual starting edge. And the reason that I'm doing that is because this is a silky fabric and I don't want the fabric to get pulled into the throat plate. So I as I said, set the needle in about 2 stitch lengths. And then what I'm going to do is put my machine on back stitch, and I'm going to carefully back stitch about 2 stitches, and then I will release that, and now I will stitch forward. And as I come up to this pin, I will remove it and then come and stitch down to the stopping point. One more stitch, I will back stitch this and come forward, and that will in fact secure it. And then I'm going to release this. Now that was perfectly stitched on this side. Let's see what happened on the other side. Well, it's exactly on my markings. So that is a perfectly stitched pleat. And now you're going to take this and you're going to say, what way do I press the intake portion of that pleat? Do I press it towards the neck point, or do I press it towards the armhole? And the way to determine that is by the line that was the cut line for the actual pleat itself. And so when you're in the patterning stage, the way that you achieve this, it's called perfecting the dark cutting line or perfecting the cutting line, is you would take the stitching line on one side, put it to the stitching line on the other side, and the bulk of the dart in this situation has been folded towards the neck point, whereas if I turned it this way, well, it's a little hard to do in this paper, but you can see that that's going to stick up. So that means that this is the location, or the direction, I should say, that I need to press that folded portion of the inside of the pleat. And because I stopped stitching right here, the rest of it is just going to release. So I'll set that down there. And so that means that this pleat is being pressed towards my neck point, because it wouldn't sit properly looking like that. And I am going to press this over top of the tailor's ham. And just to be on the safe side, since it's a silky, I'm going to put a press cloth over top of this, like this. And now remember, you don't want to press any further down than where you stitched. You don't want a crease forming in the release portion of the pleat. And it's a bit of a spongy, silky fabric, but it did press it nicely. And what I would do now is I would just put a pin in to hold the pleat like that in place, so that when I get ready to sew the shoulder seams, that will be going in the correct direction, and you can see the pretty release that has happened now at the bottom of that pleat. So there you have it, another technique, sewing pleats. If you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you have, and if you're not already a member of the Sure-Fit Designs community, I do invite you to join. And you can do that in 3 easy steps. While you're in the Sure-Fit Designs Learning Center, make sure that you sign up for the Sure-Fit Designs newsletter, and you're going to find the sign-up form on the bottom of most of the pages in there. And number 2, if you're watching this video in YouTube, at the bottom there'll be like buttons and subscribe buttons. I certainly ask you to participate in our YouTube channel. It's Sure-Fit Designs. And lastly, we now have a Facebook group page, and people, seamstresses from all over the world, are interacting with one another, asking questions and showing their project work that they've done with Sure-Fit Designs. And please make sure you join us there. It's simply Sure-Fit Designs. It's Facebook.com/groups/Sure-Fit Designs. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you the next time.